Welcome to the Dan Sports Tips Euro 2016 daily fantasy preview show for today's action for the games on DraftKings. If you haven't signed up for DraftKings yet to play your daily fantasy sports for real money, I will put a link in the description that you can click on to go and sign up today. We're looking at the Euro 2016 games today. There are only two. It's Austria-Hungary and Portugal against Iceland. Points are scored like this. We're looking to construct a roster of a goalkeeper, two defenders, two midfielders, two forwards and one utility player who could be anything other than a goalkeeper. Looking at the goalkeepers today, there's one man I want to use, and that is Robert Almer of Austria for 5,000. While I don't expect the Hungarians to pressure the Austrians much in this game, so there will be a lack of save opportunities for Almer against a Hungary team that does struggle to score goals. They scored more than once in only two of their qualifiers and in one leg of the playoff game as well, despite being a weak group that included the Faroe Islands and a pretty abysmal Greek side that did in fact beat Hungary 4-3. The Austrian defence is sound, conceding only 5 times in 10 qualifiers in a group that features fellow qualifiers for this tournament, Russia and Sweden. This has got clean sheet and an Austrian victory written all over it, which is 10 points straight away. Any saves on top of that are a bonus. Almer featured in all the qualification games for Austria. He is their clear number one choice. Looking at defenders, sticking with Austria, Christian Fuchs of Leicester is 5,900. Now, he's obviously been part of the story of the century in Leicester City this year. Fuchs' rise to prominence in the English game is not really that much of a surprise for the Austrians. He's an ever-present at fullback for the national team, featuring all 10 qualifiers as part of a very solid defensive unit. Fuchs does love to get forward from the fullback position, and he should have opportunities to get forward and support the attacks out wide in a game against Hungary, because Austria should dominate possession in the middle of the park in this game, where they are much stronger than the Hungarian team, who, to be honest, have only 3 players in that I've heard of. Florian Klein, also of Austria, the other fullback, is 4,700. He plays for Stuttgart in Germany. He was another ever-present in qualifying for this tournament. I think the wide men will be key for the Austrians as a supply line for the target men that they have both up front, with both Janko and Arnautovic qualifying in that category. They'll be looking to pump the box full of crosses, and you'll have assists and crosses points out of that. I anticipate a game where the Austrians are going to dominate, as I say, so I think any width you can get out of the Austrian team in here, with obviously a bit of clean sheet bonus for the defenders, has got to be looked at. If you want to play contrarian, if you don't want to look at, say, clean sheets, and you want to look for a cheaper player that's going to rack up tackles points, Richard Guzmic, I think is how it's pronounced, of Hungary is 3,300. I think the Hungarian defenders are likely to be somewhat underused because the Austrians are such strong favourites for that game, and as such they are cheap. They should get plenty of opportunities to rack up defensive points for tackles, and if the Hungarians are to score a goal, you would assume a set piece is the likeliest chance. Guzmic will be sent forward in those situations. He did score once in 5 qualifying appearances. I find it hard to believe that despite a low scoring tournament thus far, that the Hungarians will be able to contain the Austrians for 90 minutes and keep them out for the clean sheet. So if you are playing him, you are playing him probably in hope that he nicks a goal at a set piece and racks up the tackles and interceptions. And then you can pay up for players in other areas of the pitch, such as in midfield. In midfield today, Gylfi Sigurdsson of Iceland for 7,400. He's the playmaker for the Icelandic team. He's had a solid season for Swansea in the Premier League. He has prime set-piece responsibility at corners, direct free kicks and some penalty responsibilities as well for the Iceland team, as evidenced by his haul of top scoring with 6 goals in 10 qualifiers. Iceland are well organised. They will not give much away defensively against the Portuguese. They may cede a fair bit of possession to Portugal, but whatever they do going forward will go through Sigurdsson, and he will have opportunity to score some points. David Alaba of Austria is 7,200. Alaba is the talisman of the emerging Austrian squad. The Bayern Munich wide man, who plays more advanced for the national team than he does for Bayern, will be involved in a game that takes the set pieces, providing much more potential for crosses and assists as well. In a game that the Austrians really should win quite comfortably, he is also capable of chipping in with a goal as well. He scored 4 times in 8 qualifying matches. He offers you potential for complete production today, and 7,200 is a very reasonable price. Also in the Austrian midfield is Zlatkan Junucevic. He occupies the number 10 role for the Austrians, who in all reality, as I say, should dominate possession in this game. Therefore, a player who is playing just behind the front men will be dictating attacking play around the box and becomes a necessity. He can weigh in with the odd goal as well. He scored twice in qualifying and once in one of the warm-up friendlies. The Werder Bremen man is likely to have a large influence on this game, and he does have some set-piece responsibilities as well. And finally, for my midfielders, João Moutinho of Portugal for 5,600. Moutinho, the Monaco man, he plays in the number 10 role for the Portuguese, much like Junuzovic does for the Austrians. Now, while the Icelandic team is going to be well organised and solid defensively, which is a trait of the Swedish teams for many years under the current Iceland coach Lars Lagerbäck, I would expect the Iceland team to cede possession in midfield and try to cancel out Ronaldo, who is the best player in this tournament. Now, dependent on your persuasion, potentially the best player in the world. Moutinho will be the main supply, probably with Nani, and will be the man who has to unlock the defence with the key passes. He weighed in with 2 goals in 7 matches in qualifying. He may well be involved in some set piece for corners and, earn some easy crossing points there as well. For the forwards, Cristiano Ronaldo, Portugal, 12,800. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of money, but he probably has to be included. He is the main man for the Portuguese side, best player in the tournament. If he doesn't fire, quite simply, neither do the Portuguese. He's scored in 5 in 6 of the qualifiers. I don't think there are huge goals in the game. Iceland will be well organised, as I said. This is also evidenced by the fact that they had the best defensive record in their group in qualification. I would put Nani up as a forward as well, but to be honest with you, he doesn't score enough goals playing out wide. I think he's more of a midfielder who's classed as a forward on DraftKings, so I'm not going to use Nani today. Marco Janko of Austria up front for 7,800. He is the main goal threat for the Austrians. Scored 26 times in 53 international appearances for the national team. The Basel striker is a prototypical target man. He scored 7 goals in 9 qualification games. Look for the Austrians to pepper the Hungarian area with crosses, for Janko to get on the end of and take advantage of the worst team in this group and possibly the worst team in the tournament in Hungarians. As I say, I've only heard of 3 of their players. Zoltan Gera obviously played in England for a little while. So did the goalkeeper Gabor Kirali, and I'm probably one up on most people. Tamas Priskin as well was a Watford fan. He was our main signing in 2006 in the Premier League when we finished bottom. I think we sold him on to Ipswich. I didn't realise he was still alive, but it turns out he's playing in the Slovakian Premier League. That is all I have got for you today. Best of luck with your lineups. As I say, there is a link in the description of this video to enable you to go to DraftKings and sign up. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the Euro 2016 games today in the comments. I'll be back tomorrow with a simpler slate where there's going to be 3 games, therefore much more choice to play with. See you tomorrow.